Welcome to Legal Keys, unlocking time, revenue, and results. The podcast that connects you with the people, technologies, and trending topics shaping the modern legal landscape. From cutting-edge AI innovations to high-growth marketing strategies and everything in between. Legal Keys is your go-to resource for actionable insights. Brought to you by Faster Outcomes and hosted by Tim Sawyer, two-time Inc. 500 co-founder entrepreneur. We're here to help you navigate the tools and trends driving success in today's legal world.
Hello and welcome to Legal Keys, Season 2, believe it or not, Episode 23. RJon, we're going to have a blast today. I'm your host, Tim Sawyer. For those of you joining us for the first time, as always, you picked the perfect opportunity to join the podcast. You are going to love my guest today. For those of you who are loyal listeners, we appreciate you taking the time and energy to give us your time every couple of weeks. We're super grateful for that. As you know, the Legal Keys is sponsored by Faster Outcomes, the ultimate AI-powered legal intelligence platform for lawyers and law firms of all shapes and sizes. And I'm telling you, I cannot overstate how much fun we're about to have in the next 30 minutes with my guest. And I want to introduce RJon Robbins. He's an 8-figure entrepreneur, licensed attorney, best-selling author who helps law firm owners build profitable, sustainable businesses. He founded How to Manage a Small Law Firm at his kitchen table while flat broke in 2009. We've all been there. Today, the company supports more than 600 of the fastest growing small law firms across multiple countries and practice areas. He's the author of The Automatic Marketing Machine. Can't wait to hear about that. Profit First for Lawyers, and his upcoming book, Truth Lies. Great title. Releasing August 4th, RJon is known for helping firm owners build businesses that work personally, professionally, and financially without buying into the idea that success requires burnout. Probably a great place to start. RJon, welcome to Legal Keys.
Thanks for having me, Tim.
My first question right out of the gate, how do you convince lawyers that the grind is not a birthright and they have to embrace it or else?
Well, the title of the book is Truth, Lies, Mistakes, or Bullshit: What's Powering Your Business? And we have a little conversation about the difference between truth, lies, mistakes, and bullshit. And once we have that conversation, most open-minded law firm owners reach the conclusion that burnout is unnecessary, counterproductive, entirely optional, and self-inflicted, not very profitable.
Yeah. It's funny. Is that a tough generational sell to some groups, or is that, can you get them there, through coaching and encouragement, just to actually have that curtain come up and go, you know what, I can actually go home and help put my kids to bed once in a while, and I can make a bunch of money, right? It seems like a twist.
I don't find that it's a generational thing. I've been doing this since 1999. I reported for duty at the Florida Bar's Law Office Management Assistance Service on August 24th, 1999. So since August 24th, 1999, I've worked with thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands, into the tens of thousands of law firm owners all over the United States, every practice area imaginable: Black, white, Asian, Hispanic, gay, straight, older, younger, left-handed, right-handed, all different practice areas. And the common denominator is a philosophy that is woven into law school, that's indoctrinated into people in law school. And we call it the Doctrine of Sacrifice. And the Doctrine of Sacrifice has people believing that they should take pride in how much they sacrifice. And once you start buying into this idea that you should take pride in how much you sacrifice, then the sacrifice starts to become the objective. And people start getting their love from how much they sacrifice. You should love me because how much I sacrifice for you. And they bring that bullshit home and try to lay it on their family at home, which is a recipe for dysfunction at home. And they try to get their self-esteem from how much they sacrifice. And they say to their staff, you should all value me and appreciate me because of how much I sacrifice for you, which is a really great way to have an unproductive team and create a lot of chaos and drama into your operation. And they try to get a lot of their security from how much they sacrifice. They say to their clients, you should value the work that I do because of how much I sacrifice and how hard it is and how many hours I put into it. Did you know, Tim, that the legal industry did not get infected, and I'm using the word intentionally, with the billable hour until the 1960s. Before the 1960s, lawyers didn't bill by the hour. Before the 1960s, everything was value-based. You know how long lawyers have been running successful law firms? Most lawyers, I've been doing this since 1999. I've been all over this country talking about this for 25 years. So don't feel bad if you don't know. How long do you think lawyers have been starting, managing, and growing successful law firms?
Hundreds of years?
Thousands of years. Thousands of years. The patron saint of lawyers, St. Thomas Aquinas, lived more than 500 years ago, right? For thousands of years, lawyers have been running law firms, and we never billed by the hour. It was always a value-based relationship with the client, where the lawyer's interests and the client's interests were aligned in producing results for the client. And then in the 1960s, the legal industry got infected by the billable hour, which we can get into that story if you want to, or I don't have to, because it's a little bit of a rabbit hole. But in the 1960s, the legal industry got infected by the billable hour. By the 1970s, it was fully infected. And lawyers then just completely copped out and started billing by the hour, which basically means taking all of the responsibility for running a profitable, responsible business and trying to shift it onto the client who doesn't know any better. And then it puts you in an adverse relationship with your clients. And then lawyers start wondering, why am I not happy anymore? Why am I so stressed out? Why am I so miserable? Well, because you're running the business in a way that the business was never designed to be run, right? And you pair that with this doctrine of sacrifice, where people start trying to get their love and their security and their self-esteem from how much they sacrifice. And pretty soon, value becomes an afterthought. What difference does it make if I produced any value? I billed by the hour. I put 10 hours into this. I put 20 hours into this. Well, did you produce anything? Did you accomplish anything? Did you deliver any value? Who cares? We bill by the hour, and you should love me for it. So we start having these conversations with lawyers, and like I said, if they're ready for it and they're willing to keep an open mind, we can show them an entirely different way to approach the business of running their law firm and living their lives. And so this idea that sacrifice is necessary starts to become something that you literally start going around feeling a little bit sorry for people who are doing that to themselves.
It strikes a nerve with me, because I'm literally doing a little bit of self-analysis as you're speaking and going, I do that sometimes. I'm like, yeah, I'm killing myself, and somehow it's a badge of honor when it really isn't, right? Because we should be living in purpose. Let me ask you this, though. I'd be really curious to hear your response to this, because this is the crux of the things that I deal with as an AI purveyor. People will say, oh, Tim, what is it that you do? And let's say I'm at a family law conference, and I'll say, well, it depends. Are you interested in going faster and having more fun or not? And they're like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, there's tools that you can use to go faster and have more fun, but it would reduce the amount of time you spend. And then you get into the conversation, right? Like, well, why would I want to take something that takes 10 hours and reduce it to an hour when I'm getting $450, $500 an hour to do that?
Do you understand how toxic that is for the soul of a person? I mean,
I'm not saying I'm doing it.
I know you're not doing it. You're trying to help change that. That's why you invited me onto your podcast. Yes. That's why I accepted the invitation on your podcast. I guess when I say you, I mean everyone in the audience. Just consider that is toxic for your soul to be in a relationship with your clients where the more efficient you run your business, the less profit you make. It's completely messed up. And it doesn't have to be that way. And it's fixable. And when you fix it, your clients are happier, your staff is happier, your family is happier, and you, the owner of the firm, will be more profitable and ultimately can be happier too. Can be. You have to make a choice.
Yeah. So for the folks listening to this, you've got a law firm, there's 2-3 lawyers sitting in there and they're going, wow, that guy's nuts, but he's right. And I don't feel so great. What's the process? When do folks end up coming to your door, and what's that first conversation like, so that they can really put themselves in that position and identify, hey, if I go to RJon, this is what I can expect?
Well, first off, let me thank you for that. And let me just say, we have a waiting list. We've had a waiting list for the better part of 3 years. So I got nothing to sell anyone except maybe a book on Amazon, right? Yeah. when people come to us, the first thing we do is we introduce them to one of our reference librarians, and we pretty much just share a ton of stuff for free. Do a little diagnostic, figure out what's going on in the firm, and then bam, our reference librarians are just sending out by email, by snail mail, just tons and tons of stuff. We're just sharing it for free with people all the time. We got to do the diagnostic first because we can't just open up our vaults and say, go wander around, because people are going to get lost in there, right? So we do the diagnostic, we figure out what's going on, and then we start sharing resources that will help you. Some people take the resources and they don't do anything with the resources and they don't come back, and that's okay, because we don't want to work with people who aren't going to do anything with the resources we share. Some people open up the resources, they start going through it, and they're like, I don't like this people, I don't like this culture. I mean, I have a team of over 100 employees. We manage over 500 of some of the fastest growing, most profitable law firms you could ever imagine. But you know what? We're not for everyone. And if we can share a bunch of free resources with you and help you make a decision on your own that we're not for you, glad we could help you. Good luck to you. You're not going to get on our waiting list, and that's okay. Or people consume the resources, they start to get some results, they like what they hear, they like what they see, they like our style, whatever you want to call it, and they get on the spot on the waiting list. And while they're in the waiting list, they hang out in what we call the waiting room, where they basically get an entire free coaching program while they're in the waiting room, waiting for a spot to come open. And that's usually, 3 to 6 months at this point. That might change depending on when someone listens to this podcast.
Got it. Now, let me ask you this, and this is more curiosity for me than it is teeing up sales opportunity, although I think it is.
I know, it frustrates the shit out of people. It frustrates the shit out of people when they're trying to get me to pitch, and I got a waiting list.
No, I don't want you to pitch.
My pitch is let me give you free stuff.
Hold on, I want it, because I really want to understand, and our listeners would want to understand, is there's a lot of mastermind groups. Like, I know there's a lot of mastermind groups out there. How is your approach different from a typical mastermind? And I don't want to demean in any way. I love mastermind groups. But how is this different?
They're two completely different things. We occupy a space in the org chart of the law firm. We are the CEO of the business. We are the COO of the business. We are the controller or the chief financial officer of the business.
Okay.
We are called How to Manage a Small Law Firm. We're not called Mindset Coaching is Us. We do a ton of mindset coaching. We do have masterminds within our group. We do all kinds of mindset work. We do all kinds of amazing things, but we are the C-suite of the law firm. So, you and I were talking about your entrepreneurial journey, and you've successfully exited businesses. You know what it takes to build a real business. Every business that's going to be a real business, someone's got to do the job of the CEO. If someone's not doing the job of a CEO, it's like a bus that's careening out of control with no one driving it, right? Someone's got to do the job of the chief operating officer. If no one's doing the job of a chief operating officer in a business, everything's breaking down. You're running out of gas. The engine's overheating. The engine's not getting the oil changes. I mean, you got all kinds of operational problems if no one's doing the job of a chief operating officer. Someone had better be doing the job of the chief financial officer, or you're going to run out of gas, you're going to run out of money, you're not going to be profitable, you're going to be revving harder and harder and harder and harder to make up for the money that's leaking out the bottom. We got a free resource called the Profit Leak Analysis that helps people see all the money leaking out of the bottom of their firm, and you can plug the holes and bam, it becomes more profitable. So we are the CEO, we are the COO, we are the CFO of these 500 plus law firms. And that's part of the reason we have the waiting list, because we get really involved once a firm starts working with us, they're working with us for years until they bring these roles in-house. And then we transition over to their full-time in-house team, which is great. And we have a community and blah, 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 all that stuff. But we're fundamentally a different solution than a mastermind group. Mastermind groups are great. This is hiring a CEO. This is like giving a $1 million or a $500,000 or a $3 million or a $5 million law firm. This is like picking a chief operating officer out of a $50 million law firm and dropping them in with a $3 million law firm. And then bam, the thing gets better. That's what we do.
Amen. And much needed, right? You know what's interesting too? It's so freaking funny you say that, John, because I always talk about, it's interesting. So I get a chance to go to 1 or 2 shows a month and different disciplines. And it always amazes me how the content from this podium speaks to, they use words like COO, CFO, CEO. And then I bring this up almost on every podcast. You do, hey, by show of hands, how many people in here work for a law firm with more than 3 lawyers? Nobody. And so we're preaching doctrine at that level that applies to 2% of the people in the room. Like if you look at a bell curve, right? Most of the people are 1 to 3 lawyers, right? And so that what you're doing is saying, hey, you can get the resources of a larger law firm, right? The intelligence, I should say, not the resources, the intelligence of a larger law firm.
And the resources.
And the resources. And then grow to a point where you can ingest someone on a full-time basis, which is a different message than you typically hear. It's more like, hey, this is for the guys who have 100 lawyers or 60 lawyers.
Look, I started at the Florida Bar at the Law Office Management Assistance Service. On August 24th, 1999, I reported for duty for the first time as a small law firm management advisor under the legendary J.R. Phelps, who was my first real mentor at the Florida Bar's Lomas program. I was there for 4 years. It's a documented fact that while I was there, our department, which basically was the 2 of us and then we added 1 more later, worked with over 9,000 lawyers in the 4 years I was there. I worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of lawyers, which is another way of saying I've seen the same problem over and over and over and over and over and over and over. And I mean, like, I can't remember the last time I saw a new problem or a new issue that I hadn't seen solved hundreds of times before, right? Law firms, and this is the thing that really pisses off lawyers. This is going to piss off your audience. I'm really sorry. You'll probably have people who will like turn off the podcast and never come back because I'm going to piss them off, right? Because I'm going to take one of their favorite excuses away. Ready?
Yeah.
Law firms are really simple businesses to run. Compared to almost any other kind of a business you can imagine, law firms are more simple to run than almost any other kind of business you can run. Law firms require far less working capital to get them profitable. They require far less working capital to keep them profitable. There's fewer moving pieces to running a profitable, successful law firm than almost any other kind of business you can imagine. And there's much less risks in running a law firm than almost any other kind of a business. And this pisses lawyers off. Because look, most people who are running a small law firm, they never studied marketing, they never studied sales, they never studied management. They never studied how to hire, train, manage, make a profit with staff. They never studied financial controls. They never studied business. And yet they find themselves as the owner of a business that happens to be a law firm. And because they don't know what they're doing, not because they're not brilliant, but because they never studied it, it's confusing and it's overwhelming, but that doesn't make it complicated. It just means you don't know what you're doing. No disrespect, but you don't, right? I have intellectual property lawyers. I have employment lawyers. I have real estate lawyers. I have tax attorneys. I surround myself with professionals who know more than I do in different areas. And I went to law school, but that doesn't mean that I am an expert in all the different things. So the problem is law firms are very, very simple businesses to run. And
if you understand the levers.
I'm sorry?
If you understand the levers that need to be pulled.
If you understand there's only 6 levers to pull in a law firm, right? You push, you pull, you twist, you dial, it works. You get them all working together and it's a very simple business to run. But someone's got to be doing the job of the CEO or the business is going to be running without a CEO. Someone's got to be doing the job of the COO. I'm not going to go through the whole litany. You get the idea. Yeah. And the problem is that most of these law firms are being run by people who are well-intentioned, brilliant at what they're brilliant at, but they believe the bullshit that's being fed to them by all of their friends who are running struggling law firms, who are basically just justifying the problems they're having under the banner of it's complicated. What if it wasn't complicated? What if it didn't have to be so complicated?
And I think there's a huge percentage of people that would, but there's a large percentage of people who would listen, right? And I think it would be great if we could make the world a better place to your point, because what I'm doing with AI, which is fun, but it does crash into occasionally entrenched thinking, right? So that I don't want to, I'll have conversations with friends about, they're like, wow, that's amazing. I got to figure out my financial model, Tim, because what's more interesting too is when you talk about large law firms and they'll say, large law firms have a 90% failure rate with integrating enterprise level AI across the whole organization.
Enterprise level anything.
Enterprise level anything, right? And I would say to people, yeah, but if you go to the CEO and go, hey, great news, those 1,000 hours you're billing for, we can get them to 1. Why'd I do that? And so there's got to be some full I'll use the term self-actualization for a human to use AI to get to a place where you're trying to get them mentally, right? The mindset. Hey, you don't need to be a slave to, this idea that everything has to be drudgery and awful and shitty and, and then use that to be able to say, look at me, I'm doing great because I'm killing myself, right? If you can get them past that and then embrace how AI can walk them through that to the other side, that's a great little, and I'd be curious, by the way, to hear when you're having this message of, hey, we need to kind of change the way you're looking at this a little bit. You need to give yourself some grace, but you also need to take away the excuses. And then when you introduce efficiency and AI, I don't know if you're having AI conversations.
Can I just sell your thing for you?
I would love that.
All right, here it is. Let me break it down for your audience, all right? The reason why your audience isn't buying your product, why they're not lining up and banging down the doors to buy your product, because logically, rationally, financially, it's an absolute no-brainer, right? What, $1,500 to sign up, $400 a month? Yeah. This is like the most easy, obvious thing to do. Why don't they do it? Number one, they don't do it because they're getting their love, their security, and self-esteem from all the wrong places. Number two, their business model is broken. Number three, they fear change. Number four, they don't know what to do with their new identity. Number five, they wouldn't know what to do with all the free time if they had it. There. You fix those problems, and everyone's going to line up.
It sounds like you and I are going to work together to do that.
Well, thanks for having me on your podcast.
I'm grateful. I'm super grateful. So as we wind down, you got a book coming out.
Truth, Lies, Mistakes, or Bullshit. What's driving your business? It's available for pre-sale on Amazon. Maybe you could put a note in the show notes. I don't have a sample to show because it's in pre-publication.
We will absolutely do that.
Like I can show you this, but that's not what you want. But even if I do say so myself, it's a great book. It's a parable. It's a business parable. I've asked dozens and dozens of the law firm owners that we help them manage their firms to read the Galleys copy. And every one of them said, and I quote, "This is the best book ever." Every one of them, without exception, said it was the best book ever. No, seriously, it's a great book.
I have no doubt in my mind. I can't wait to read it. I'm going to be enlightened. I feel like I'll understand the mindset.
Have you read The Go-Giver by Bob Burg?
I have read The Go-Giver.
Okay, so
yes.
Bob, who's a friend, co-authored The Go-Giver with John David Mann. Truth, Lies, Mistakes, and Bullshit is co-authored between me and John David Mann. So if you like The Go-Giver,
I did.
You'll like my book.
Got it. And for those folks who have said, I know you've got a waiting list, but I'm interested in taking advantage of some of those materials that you're talking about and possibly getting my mindset shifted a little bit, where would they go to do that?
Just go to the website, howtomanageasmalllawfirm.com or howtomanage.com, and you'll find links to get all kinds of free resources. You can find a link to schedule an appointment to speak with one of our reference librarians. Our reference librarians are not allowed to accept a credit card under any circumstances. They're not there to sell you anything. They're literally just there to share free resources with you. To the extent that they're asking you questions is to make sure they send you the most relevant, useful, helpful resources that we can.
Got it. RJon, this has been amazing. Super, super grateful. Katie, thank you so much. Carly in the background for helping put this together. Perfect guest for the perfect time in history. And as always, like I said, brought to you by Faster Outcomes, fasteroutcomes.com. Love to see you there. Enjoy your week, and we'll see you soon.